Lake Meridian Revenge, optimized script, 3,000 words. They broke into my property at dawn with bolt cutters trying to steal a boat that belonged to my dead grandfather. What they didn't know, I legally owned the entire lake they're standing on. Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. I'm watching through my kitchen window as Karen Brightwater, the HOA president who moved here 3 years ago, leads 2 board members and a sheriff's deputy toward my dock. The morning mist clings to Lake Meridian like a shroud, and there's this bone-deep creak of 40-year-old dock planks as they approach my grandfather's 1985 cabin cruiser. Karen's waving around a piece of paper like it's some kind of weapon, a notice demanding I remove my eyesore boat within 72 hours or face $500 daily fines. She's about to discover she just declared war on a Navy veteran who inherited more than just a boat. My name is Marcus Wendell, 52 years old, retired Navy engineer, and apparently the biggest thorn in Karen Brightwater's side since she moved to our quiet Lake Meridian community with big city dreams and an even bigger attitude. Lake Meridian sits 90 minutes west of Denver, a pristine 200-acre jewel surrounded by 47 homes that grew up around the original homesteads. My grandfather Clifford bought what the locals called worthless swamp land back in 1982 for $8,000, about what Karen probably spends on her monthly Botox appointments. Clifford spent 2 summers hand-building our cabin and that dock using cedar planks that still smell like Christmas morning when the sun hits them just right. The community was different then, families who worked with their hands, kids who knew how to bait their own hooks, neighbors who'd help you move a refrigerator for just a cold beer and a good story. Enter Karen Brightwater, real estate agent, HOA president, and the kind of person who probably has her pool boys sign a non-disclosure agreement. She arrived from Denver with her BMW, her architectural opinions, and a vision to transform our little slice of heaven into some kind of exclusive resort community. First time we met, she was standing in my driveway wearing enough lavender perfume to choke a moose, pointing at my grandfather's boat like it was a dead raccoon. That eyesore is bringing down property values, she announced, not bothering with introductions. I showed her the boat registration, current, the dock permits, legal since 1983, the property surveys, all recorded and filed properly with Jefferson County. I don't care about your paperwork, she said, actually stamping her foot like a toddler. We have community standards. That's when I knew we had a problem. Karen wasn't just complaining about my boat. She was testing the waters to see how much she could push around the original families before we'd push back. Her plan became clear over the following months. She'd formed this HOA in 2018 with newer residents, Denver transplants who saw dollar signs instead of memories when they looked at our lake. The goal was simple: pressure longtime families to sell cheap, then flip properties to wealthy buyers who'd pay premium prices for exclusive lakefront living. 3 other original families started getting similar harassment letters about aesthetic violations and community enhancement fees. The Hendersons got cited for their vegetable garden being inconsistent with planned community vision. The Torinos were told their kids' tire swing was a liability issue. But here's what Karen didn't understand about Navy veterans: we don't fold under pressure. We dig in. And when someone tries to steal something that belongs to us, something our grandfathers built with their own hands, we fight back with everything we've got. Karen's first real power play came exactly 1 week later. She called an emergency HOA board meeting, timing it when most working families couldn't attend, but her retired Denver transplant friends could stack the room like a rigged poker game. Her proposal was elegant in its cruelty: all watercraft would need visual compatibility requirements, with annual inspections costing $500. Boats over 20 years old would require comprehensive restoration to modern standards, basically, spend $10,000 or get out. Plus a new $2,000 annual watercraft assessment for the privilege of keeping your boat on community waters. But I'd spent the previous week at the Jefferson County Courthouse diving through filing cabinets. My Navy training had taught me that intelligence gathering wins more battles than firepower. Karen's voting scheme had a fatal flaw. Colorado requires approval from 67% of all homeowners for new fees, not just whoever shows up. Her meeting had maybe 30 people in a community of 47 homes. The real bombshell was buried in the original incorporation documents. The HOA formation in 2018 was missing signatures from 8 original homesteads, including mine. Those weren't just suggestions, they were legal requirements. I waited until Karen finished her presentation before standing up. Miss Brightwater, I have a question about your legal authority to impose these fees. Her smile faltered. The HOA board has full discretionary power over community standards, Mr. Wendell. Actually, you don't. I pulled out a manila folder thick with photocopied documents. Your 2018 incorporation is invalid. You're missing required signatures from 15% of original homeowners as mandated by Colorado revised statutes. The room went dead quiet. Karen's lawyer whispered frantically in her ear while flipping through papers like a man looking for a life preserver on a sinking ship. Furthermore, I continued, the original homesteads have perpetual waterfront access rights that predate your organization by 36 years. Instead of backing down, Karen went nuclear. Mr. Wendell, I've received multiple complaints about your aggressive behavior toward community members. Your military background concerns many residents who fear for their safety. Brilliant and evil in equal measure. Turn my research into stalking, my legal questions into threats. Make the victim into the aggressor. That anonymous note under my windshield wiper changed everything. Check the lake deed. Not everything is what it seems. A friend. Karen escalated with $50,000 raised for the Lake Meridian Improvement Committee. Private security boats started patrolling like we were a drug smuggling operation. Orange warning signs appeared, no unauthorized watercraft. Violators will be prosecuted. I drove to the state archives in Denver. The building smelled like old paper and government coffee, and the clerk looked like she'd been there since Colorado achieved statehood. You want the original land surveys from 1981? Those are in the basement vault. Nobody's requested those files in probably 15 years. What I found in those dusty manila folders made my jaw drop. The original 1981 land survey showed Lake Meridian's boundaries were incorrectly recorded in every deed filed after 1983. Modern GPS coordinates revealed what everyone thought was one large lake was actually 2 separate water bodies. Lake Meridian North, where all the fancy houses were planned. And Lake Meridian South, which my grandfather hadn't just bought lakefront property on. He'd bought the entire damn thing. All water rights, mineral rights, and access easements for Lake Meridian South belonged to Clifford Wendell. My grandfather hadn't just been a smart bargain hunter, he'd been a visionary who understood that owning water in Colorado was like owning liquid gold. Karen's harassment campaign intensified. Surveillance cameras appeared overnight pointing at my dock. $500 daily fines began arriving by certified mail. She started spreading rumors that I was a mentally unstable veteran planning violence against the community. I consulted with a veterans legal aid attorney who'd fought water rights cases for 20 years. She confirmed what those archives revealed. I didn't just own a boat slip, I owned the lake bed, water column, and every recreational usage right for the entire southern section of Lake Meridian. The professional land survey I commissioned revealed something even better. My property line extended 50 feet into the larger lake where every single dock on the north shore was built. Those fancy waterfront homes weren't just near my property, they were partially sitting on it. Karen's desperation hit a new level when she realized I wasn't backing down. At 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, my infrared security cameras caught 3 figures dumping motor oil near my dock, Karen herself along with 2 HOA board members, pouring automotive waste into pristine lake water while wearing dark clothing. By 6 a.m., I'd uploaded the footage to a secure cloud server and sent copies to my attorney, the sheriff, and the EPA's Environmental Crimes Hotline. That same morning, Karen filed a false EPA report claiming I was polluting the lake with boat fuel, while she was literally dumping motor oil into water she didn't own. The EPA inspector took one look at my pristine maintenance records and water quality testing, then started asking pointed questions about the fresh oil slick that definitely didn't come from my fuel tank. My attorney connected me with an environmental law clinic at the University of Colorado. Suddenly I had a team of law students treating Karen's scheme like their personal crusade against corporate greed. The underwater archaeological survey revealed artifacts from a Ute fishing camp dating back 300 years, triggering federal protection laws that made Karen's marina development about as legal as building a casino in Yellowstone. Karen's final desperate gambit proved she'd lost touch with reality. She hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on my military service, apparently believing she could find scandal to justify her harassment campaign. What she found instead was enough heroic documentation to make her look like she was attacking Captain America, Navy Cross for saving 12 sailors, multiple environmental cleanup commendations, exemplary 22-year service record without a single disciplinary action. Then Karen attempted to bribe Deputy Torino to file a false arrest warrant against me. The conversation happened in Miller's hardware parking lot, where she cornered him with $5,000 cash. Just file a domestic disturbance report, she pleaded. Say you received an anonymous tip about violent threats. Jim Torino had been a cop for 15 years and made a recording. The FBI Environmental Crimes Unit opened their case after reviewing Karen's pattern of harassment across multiple state lines. The Lake Meridian Community Center had never seen anything like Labor Day evening circus, 200 people crammed into a space designed for 50, with news cameras from 4 Denver stations and federal agents observing from the back. Karen had no idea she was walking into her own execution. She'd prepared what she thought would be her victory presentation, complete with falsified water quality reports and staged photos claiming environmental damage from my boat. I sat in the front row with my legal team, watching Karen set up her PowerPoint with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen announced dramatically, tonight we vote to permanently remove the environmental hazard that threatens our beautiful lake community. She clicked to her first fabricated photo, my grandfather's boat with digitally added oil stains. As you can see, this vessel has been leaking petroleum products into our pristine waters for months. I stood up and the room went dead silent except for the whir of news cameras. Miss Brightwater, I have a question about your jurisdiction to regulate my property. The HOA has full authority over community waters, Mr. Wendell. Actually, you don't. I walked to the front and connected my laptop to the projector, replacing her lies with legal truth. Because those aren't community waters. The first document that filled the screen was my grandfather's original 1982 deed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the legal owner of Lake Meridian South, my grandfather, Clifford Wendell, who purchased not just lakefront property, but the entire body of water you've been fighting about. Gasps echoed through the room like thunderclaps. Karen's face went white as the implications hit her. Furthermore, your marina development would be built entirely on my private property, which explains why you've been so desperate to drive me away. The room erupted in confused chatter as people realized they'd been watching Karen try to steal millions in lakefront property through an elaborate HOA harassment scheme. That's impossible. Karen shrieked, abandoning all professional composure. Those documents are fabricated. Deputy Torino stepped forward with calm satisfaction. Miss Brightwater, you're under arrest for attempted bribery of a law enforcement officer, environmental crimes, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The handcuffs clicking shut provided the most satisfying sound I'd heard since my discharge ceremony. The EPA agent stood up and announced the criminal investigation into her development company. Mountain Vista Properties is under federal investigation for environmental fraud, veteran harassment, and racketeering across 4 states. We've documented a pattern of targeting military families through systematic HOA abuse. The FBI agent joined by serving warrants for Karen's financial records. But my favorite moment came with my final announcement: I'm offering to sell lake access easements to legitimate community members for $1 each, and I'm establishing the Clifford Wendell Memorial Wildlife Preserve to protect this lake forever. The standing ovation from original families drowned out Karen's screaming protests as news cameras captured her perp walk through a crowd of people she'd spent months terrorizing. 6 months later, I'm sitting on my grandfather's dock watching sunrise paint Lake Meridian in shades of gold and possibility, breathing air that no longer reeks of diesel fuel from harassment patrol boats. Karen Brightwater pled guilty to 17 federal charges and received 18 months in federal prison plus $200,000 restitution. Her real estate license was permanently revoked, and Mountain Vista Properties dissolved in bankruptcy after facing lawsuits from investors who'd lost $50 million backing her fraudulent schemes. The harassment lawsuit I filed settled for $1.2 million, money that bought peace of mind and funded something even better. The new HOA board operates under bylaws requiring transparency, fairness, and actual legal authority. Property values increased 40% after Lake Meridian received Colorado's first community protected watershed designation, proving conservation can be more profitable than destruction. I used the settlement money to restore my grandfather's cabin into a family retreat honoring his memory while serving the community he loved. The University of Colorado established a lake ecology research station, providing ongoing environmental monitoring while giving graduate students hands-on conservation experience. Lake Meridian now serves as a model for 15 other communities fighting similar development pressure across Colorado and neighboring states. My grandfather's $8,000 investment in worthless swamp land became the cornerstone of a conservation movement protecting thousands of acres from corporate predators. The Governor's Environmental Protection Award sits on my mantle next to my grandfather's fishing photos, a reminder that sometimes the best way to honor the past is to protect the future. Karen's spectacular downfall became a cautionary tale that inspired Colorado's legislature to pass the HOA Reform Act, requiring independent oversight of harassment complaints and criminal penalties for systematic intimidation. The first annual Lake Meridian Conservation Festival attracted 2,000 visitors who came to celebrate community-led environmental protection. My grandfather's boat serves as the festival centerpiece, transformed from Karen's eyesore into a symbol of how ordinary people can defeat corporate schemes through determination and legal preparation. Teaching weekend workshops on knowing your property rights has become my retirement passion project, helping other homeowners understand what they actually own before HOA bullies try to steal it. Last week, I received a letter from a veteran in Montana whose HOA is trying to steal his solar panels through bogus aesthetic violations. Some people never learn, but that's fine by me. Time to make another phone call. What's your worst HOA nightmare? Drop it in the comments below, and I mean the really juicy ones. Did your HOA Karen try to ban your American flag? Force you to paint your house beige? Steal your parking spot? We're collecting the most outrageous HOA horror stories, and yours might just become our next viral revenge tale. Here's the real question though, are you Team Marcus, the type to dig through dusty courthouse records at 2 a.m. and build an airtight legal fortress? Or are you Team, just move the boat, willing to surrender family legacy to avoid confrontation? Because here's what I've learned after 22 years in the Navy and countless battles with petty tyrants, bullies only understand one language, overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Karen thought she was playing chess, but Marcus was playing 4D warfare. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more David vs. Goliath stories where the little guy doesn't just win, they absolutely demolish the opposition so thoroughly that it becomes a cautionary tale for generations. Next week, we've got an even wilder story about an HOA president who tried to steal a veteran's Purple Heart, and lived to regret it. Trust me, you're not going to believe what happens next.